Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope that everyone out there is having a wonderful day and that you're all excellent. Don't forget to subscribe to The Modern Investor if you haven't already done so. There's a brand new video all the time. Very big thank you to everyone out there who comments as well. It helps out with the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We have a lot of money flowing into the cryptocurrency space. It looks like things might be changing or have already begun to change. We are seeing, as I predicted, and I mean, it's a very basic prediction. Years ago, the solidification of a number of coins within this market. Back in 2017 or 2018, it was quite easy to make several $1 million seemingly overnight for doing absolutely nothing. That was also a huge part of the ICO craze that we had, where basically, I mean, this was, you could announce, I'm creating a coin. My coin does this. It is going to surpass Bitcoin. It is going to work faster than Ethereum. Or we're going to work towards 1 million transactions per second by 2022. And overnight, people were raising $1.7 million for these coins that never even actually happened. They were literally raising it through ICOs, through the Coins project. You were able to raise money in Ethereum or Bitcoin. They would cash out of that. They would produce some kind of a coin, and then the coin would go nowhere. We've spoken about many of them because over the years I've had to continuously mention, hey, that coin looks like garbage. I'm pretty sure that's a scam. And then we started having a bunch of like, what do you call it? Like developers looking into these chains, and they were like, that doesn't work. That's not a thing. And then famously, I think it kind of began to dwindle with Tron. For those of you who don't know, it was quite popular years ago. Whenever a new coin would pop up, there would be a white paper. And basically, it would be a paper, that would be written about the coin and what it was going to do and how amazing it was and their prospects for the future. It was, every time a new coin's white paper came out, it made the news, how times have changed. The problem was is that people looked at Tron's white paper and they found out that it was just copy and pasted from like 6 other projects. Like, not like they, took a sentence. It was like 5 paragraphs at a time. And people made a diagram and they were like, that's from this coin, that's from Bitcoin, that's from Ethereum. And they were like, no, like we do that because it's like, it's a way of showing gratitude. And like, no, like, what is it? Thievery is the sincerest form of gratitude, or whatever the term, however it goes. And we were like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool. So since then, money has, of course, shifted, as we've been going over for a while, because you can't keep creating new things all the time and just expecting money to constantly flow in its direction. Crypto venture capitalists are dialing back their risk appetite, avoiding the hot flavor of the month, and applying a more critical lens to investments. This is according to Bullish Capital Management Director Sylvia To. I would say it's T-O, so I would say To. She said VCs are a lot more careful now. It's not just a narrative play, because you could throw a check and say, oh, there's another layer 1 solution that's going to destroy Ethereum. She said this during a sit-down interview in Singapore. Then, subsequently, you saw all these new chains forming, she said, explaining that the market became fragmented and a lot of funds were being deployed to new layer 1s and new infrastructure, which isn't viable anymore. I assume, and I mean, we kind of, I think, maybe got the tail end of a lot of this news. as far as we would hear when a new chain was created, when a new project was being brought to, but we didn't, like me and you were not in the room as people were passing around checks and, you know, all that other kinds of stuff. So I assume a lot of these companies were like, we put $112 million into 112 garbage coins. Let's focus on something else. I don't know why. Maybe it's like because it was this brand new area and everyone was just kind of interested in what could be. So maybe that was a huge portion of it. But it was, if you had been in crypto for about 7 months, it was abundantly obvious like which was garbage and which wasn't. There were, you know, there were even some coins back then that were backed by like Vitalik Buterin, and they did stuff, but eventually like the funding went dry. Why would the funding go dry? Because 8 other coins came out all claiming that they could do the exact same thing as Ethereum and Bitcoin. You don't even know, like it was bad. Like there was like 18 different iterations of Bitcoin, and then when people figured out that you could actually fork Bitcoin, it became even worse. And this also, the problem amongst many, as people were getting into crypto and these companies were moving into the space, they didn't know where to put their money. So at one point, and maybe these coins still exist as zombie chains, I don't know. There was Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's Vision, Bitcoin Gold. There was a Bitcoin Silver. There was a Bitcoin Red, a Bitcoin Blue, a Bitcoin Yellow. There was a Bitcoin Green. I think there was a Bitcoin Black at some point, but I think that morphed into another private transaction coin. There was like a Bitcoin Forest. I forgot. Like there were so many of them, and then that kind of, all it takes is like one person's greed to kind of really like halt everything and get things back on track. The greed came from, and this isn't even alleged, this is a thing, you can Google it. The people who began to support Bitcoin Cash, if you were here years ago, you remember this. And this was like the moment where people were like, hold up a second. So there's Bitcoin, the number one coin, and then there's Bcash, as we used to call it to differentiate it because that's how life is. The people who supported Bcash bought the literal website called Bitcoin. You know, check one. Secondly, at the bottom of the website, you were able to buy the number one coin, or you were able to buy Bcash. The thing is, the people who supported Bcash, they said outright that they thought that that was the real Bitcoin. So on the website, they actually switched the names of these coins. So they changed the name of Bcash on their website to Bitcoin, and the name of Bitcoin, the number one coin, to Bitcoin Core. As you might have imagined, that caused a huge amount of confusion because there were a lot of retail investors and other, people who were trying to get into the space. They're looking around and they found the website called Bitcoin because these people managed to acquire it really early on. You scroll down to the bottom, I want to buy some Bitcoin. Well, there's one that's called Bitcoin and one that's called Bitcoin Core. I don't know what Core is, so I'm going to buy the other one. So these people were throwing thousands of dollars into Bitcoin Cash, being renamed Bitcoin on the website. And then imagine you buy $12,000 worth of Bitcoin Cash thinking that it's Bitcoin. What happens when you try to transfer it to your wallet? You can't, because it's not Bitcoin. So there were a lot of things like this years ago. And there was so much money being lost all the time to things. It's like I told you before, if you see a new coin, see a new project, see something that's shiny, and you want to get into it, like find the official Twitter page, like the official one, and then like only click links from them. Or go to Google and type in the actual name of the project, because and find the official website. I know it takes some due diligence, but that's because people, even now, there are tons of popular coins and people are just renaming them. So I won't give you examples to steer you in any direction. There are certain coins that, you know, have a popular name, and people are just writing that coin in like lowercase completely, or like, you know, first letter and last letter in uppercase. It is technically then categorized as a different coin, even like the actual, you know, like BTC, ETH, XRP. They'll choose something that also looks relatively similar to that coin. Like years ago, people tried creating a BTTC or a BTCC or a BBTC, and it confuses people, and people end up buying it. Anyway, back to the point of the matter is that, you know, this is why it takes bad actors to force regulations, but then also for people to like stop dealing in garbage. There could have been a world where some of these projects might have been valid or real or whatever. But after people, you know, hundreds of projects constantly disappearing and taking people's money, like overnight, there were so many, like these people were making coins, and they were making $22 million overnight in Ether. They were taking that money, putting it into like a coin mixer thing, which, you know, basically gives you new coins, so the transaction, you know, essentially could not be traced. 22 million in one night. So of course, the money is now just flowing into a certain amount of coins. You know, I've seen the comments. Why aren't you talking about this coin? This coin just did so and so. You didn't hear about this brand new coin? People are making money. I've had this for years. People tell me I'm doing a disservice to my listeners because I'm not talking about this brand new coin that went up by 14,000%. I look at the coin, I pay attention to it for a week, and then all of a sudden its trading volume drops down to zero, like literal zero. And I Google around. Lo and behold, someone launched the coin. They told everyone this is the new Ethereum. This is going to do this. We've partnered with these 3 companies. It's going to be major. And then the people who created the coin, they take all the money out of the project. It's gone. So it makes a lot of sense now why we keep hearing an abundant amount of news around companies and governments accumulating huge amounts of Bitcoin and Ether. They know that it works. They said, we're at a phase where you don't have the luxury to just put money on these new narratives, she said, adding that investments now require a much more critical lens. You really have to start thinking that there's all this infrastructure being built in the industry, but who has been using it? Are there enough transactions? Is there enough volume coming through these chains to justify all the money being raised? Do you remember, if you weren't here, one of the big critical things that caused a bunch of people to start leaving these chains and to leave Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision was because we found out that there were indeed, you know, a huge amount of some of you must remember this, huge amount of transactions happening within these chains. This chain is doing really, really well. People were like, where are these transactions coming from? So sometimes you would look at, there's a thing called Bitcoin Block Explorer, where basically you can see the transactions going through, yada, yada. Actually, hold on. This thing right here, this is a block explorer. You can literally see like the transactions as they're happening and who they're going to. That. People were looking at it for those chains, and they were seeing, I think this was BSV, Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision. There were so many 1 cent transaction, once and once and once and once and once and once and once, like, I mean, thousands of them at a time. People were like, what is doing that? Someone created a weather app, and that was using Bitcoin Cash Satoshi Vision as its currency. And every time that someone interacted or anything happened with that weather app, it cost 1 cent. That was the transaction going through it. 90-something% of its transactions were from a weather app. No one was using the thing. But so much money was being thrown because people created an article saying this is one of the most used chains out there. Don't miss. You got to put your money into it. It was the same exact thing with Bitcoin Cash. It was the same exact thing with Tron. That's what, you can only have this narrative for so long. Remember how 2025, full of news about Ethereum upgrading, Ethereum updating, Ethereum doing this. This is going to happen. We're going to have this. We're going to have so and so. And I was like, that doesn't work anymore. And then we subsequently got news that the mega Ethereum update would be happening at the beginning of December. Yeah, because they were trying to push it well into 2026. That news, like you can't say, hey, you guys, if you can wait another 19 months, that'd be great. And then we're going to have an upgrade that gives us 20 transactions per second. You heard that correct. The big 2-0. And people go, well, that chain already has 7,000. Why would we wait another 19? It doesn't make any sense. Your chain, like, you have to be on it. We're not at this isn't 2016 anymore. We're not talking about, my coin's better than yours. You have to prove it. You have to show, like, daily over the course of a year. When I told you that BlackRock was getting into the space, it's not some kind of a random thing. Oh yeah, I think I can spell Bitcoin. Let's throw money into it. Since 2014, they've been checking and looking at the volume. How many new wallet addresses are created per day? I need to know that you have at least 50,000 new people weekly, daily, who are getting and jumping onto this chain. How much volume? Is the volume also matching? If you have 3 million new users this year, has your volume gone up accordingly? Are other places adopting this? Are other places buying this? Are people are buying it and hoarding it? That's cool. Is anyone actually using it? What's being built on top of it? Are the number of transactions that's happening? By the time we heard that Bitcoin every month was handling over $1 trillion, $1 trillion were moving just through Bitcoin's chain monthly. Do you remember who got into the market and announced openly? It was BlackRock. You look and you see monthly transactions are around $16 million, $78 million, $122 million. Bitcoin's doing 1.5 billion in transactions per month. Bitcoin gets to $1 trillion. You've seen the growth. You've seen it go up. This isn't just, that's how things work. So if you keep sitting there wondering and then people complaining, why are you not talking about Pepe coin? You didn't see Dogecoin went up by 8%. Man, you're not talking about the right coins. No, I am. This is the stuff that's in the news. This is the stuff that's constantly there. A lot of people bought coins years ago. There's a reason when I say, like, do your own research. Stop buying garbage. Like, when I actually research the coin, somebody wearing a t-shirt with a dog on it shouldn't suffice for you to throw your money into it. You work all day for this money. Someone puts on a t-shirt, they go to a football game wearing a hat with an animal on it. You go, I'm going to put my money into that. You heard that governments were buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. World banks are going to be building on top of XRP and the Ethereum blockchain. And you go, I want the cat coin. I want, like, it just doesn't. And this is why people get so flustered with crypto, because they wonder why 2 years later, why their horrible projects didn't take off. I threw my money into it. There's only 700 billion coins for that project. Why isn't it going up? It was never going to go up. Like, you just, like, when I say follow the money, like, this is how, like, normal, investing works. You look up companies on the stock exchange. Like, I forgot, is it the Golden 20? I forgot exactly what it's called. There are companies who've been, like, dishing out dividends since, like, 1937. You look and you go, wow, they've been around since 1937. You look at J&J and you're like, people are always going to need their products. They're a reliable company. You look into what, you don't just throw your money into something. Like this, you don't throw it into penny stocks because some YouTuber was like, yeah, I put 500 into penny stocks and I made 1.6 million. No, he didn't. He's just telling it's just complete nonsense over and over. Look at what you're putting your money into. Investigate, learn more. Why is everyone talking about this coin? Why are governments buying Bitcoin? Why are governments mining Bitcoin? Why is Norway? Why is this country? Why is so and so and so? Why is Luxembourg? Why are they putting $100 billion into Bitcoin ETFs? Why aren't they doing it to Catcoin? What happened to Dogecoin? Like what are you talking about? In 2025, many projects have been raising funds at inflated and often unjustified valuations, relying heavily on future cash flow projections. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. So I don't know if this was meant to be like a PSA or what this was, but for the love of goodness, like it's one thing. It is one thing if you are new to this project and you into this space, the cryptocurrency market, and you don't know where to go. I get it. It can be daunting and confusing. If you've been here for 5 months and you've heard the same news all the time, you're kind of running out of excuses. If you've been here for 2 years and you wonder why your portfolio didn't do that well, and you look at the coins you put your money into, you go look at their like daily volume, you can see it on Coin Market Cap. Some of these coins, their daily, Bitcoin has billions with a B, billions of dollars in daily volume. Some of these coins have $218,000 in daily volume. Always research, always learn more. There's no reason for you not to learn and have more knowledge in your brain so that you prevail and do better in the future. You're part of this market. You know, you're an investor. Learn what you're investing in and why it's so important. I promise. This is a promise to you. It will only help you out. Well, I hope you all got something from the video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.